We play it if you like rock and roll.
Gonna spend it.
We play it because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Programs presented are submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM, The Boss, and affiliates.
Hi guys, welcome to Superhuman with Dr. V and Jason Phelps. I am Dr. V, and with me always is Jason. Yeah. And today we have a special guest. I'm going to actually shoot it over to Jason, let him introduce him. Awesome. Because he met him this weekend. It was last weekend at the Pittsburgh.
Last weekend,
at the
you know,
NPC.
it's funny, in my world, in the bodybuilding world, you know, we get out and we meet people, and it's funny that we all live very isolated lives as athletes, unfortunately, because you spend so much time kind of like in your own world, in your own gym, you know, you don't spend a lot of time socializing. Well, it just so happened that I was at Legacy one day, and I saw Brett, who's our guest today, working with Kalechi, who I talk about all the time, doing the newbie and really, you know, helping him kind of get ready for the show. And when I was out in Pittsburgh with one of my guys, I ran into him there, and I said, "Oh, I just saw you last week at Legacy." You know,
well, why did you remember him?
Well, because he has a fantastic beard. Yeah, and I got to be honest. I've never been.
I have a lot of questions on that, and I want to ask him about, because I learned about a whole community that I had no clue.
So
about.
Our guest today is Brett Trevino, and he won his pro card at Pittsburgh at the North Americans week before last in Classic Physique. And we can get into a little bit about what classic physique is, because it's not something I think a lot of our listeners probably know the difference in the sports, in the physique world. But welcome. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you gentlemen having me on. It's exciting.
So explain a little bit about, you know, because I really want to get to the beard, but I want to know about your background. So explain a little bit about what is like, for people that don't know the different divisions in bodybuilding or in physique, what is classic bodybuilding?
Right. So, you know, old school golden eras, you got bodybuilding. In the past few years, it's come up to men's physique, you know, board shorts, more upper body. Classic physique has the best combination, I believe, in height and weight ratio. If you're in bodybuilding, you know, if you're you have to sit in a certain weight class. So if you're 5'5" or 6 foot, you're going to compete together. Where classic gives you a little bit better, you know,
kind of a delineation between the different heights.
Yeah.
If you're 5'5", you can compete against other guys that same kind of height and size, right?
Better, you know,
I can see where that would be, because if you're 5'5" and you're competing against somebody that's got you know 6 foot and has got a different you know waist ratio, I mean, it's just.
Well, not only that, but not everybody wants to be open class, huge bodybuilder to compete, right? So there's a world out there of guys like Brett who like being big, but not enormous. Right? Yeah. So you kind of have these real classic lines. You have a nice small waist, but still have, you know, bigger thighs, bigger shoulders, chest, back. But it's just it's a more classic look. It's when you think of the Dave Drapers, of the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, of
Steve
Frank
Reeves,
Zane.
Steve Reeves, you know, all those guys.
They had really nice lines.
Zane.
They didn't look freaky, right? They were big and they had these great builds, but not freaky.
Aesthetically. I mean, I started as a middleweight bodybuilder and worked up to light heavyweight. You know, and with my height, you know, I had to push heavyweight, you know, and it just didn't feel comfortable. So when the classic physique came out, I'm like, that's it. Plus, I love posing. You know, there's a different art form and a different display of, you know, art when it comes to that. And so I've taken a note from the greats like Lee Labrada and, you know, Boyer Coe, all those old school guys that just really knew how to display their bodies properly.
Gotcha.
And speaking of Labrada, you also are a Labrada rep, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
awesome.
some territory manager for them. 3 years now, and great company, hometown, 25 years. The family, everyone there has been great, supportive. So I just help run all the HEBs here in town and just make sure that all the product is stocked and ready to go.
Awesome. Well, that's a cool. So that's another, because I know certain women. You know, there's a group that are like, oh, I like muscle, but there's the majority of them that are like, man, you're too big. I don't want you to get too big, and I don't want you to get. And my wife's in that group. She's like, you know, if I would get a little bit too large in the competition that I would do, or in CrossFit or whatever, she's like, I don't like the way that looks, kind of freaky, and this and that. You know, so there's a lot of women. So and that's cool for guys too, because I think that classic physique, like one that sticks out to me was I don't know if y'all remember Bob Paris.
Oh yeah,
beautiful. Like he as a guy, I mean he
was beautiful.
It was just not huge, but he was very
exemplifies kind of the look.
The look of
what we're
classic.
going.
Okay, I
Even
got you.
today, the classic physique guys are going for that look.
For that look,
particular.
for Bob Paris. Okay.
He would do very, very well
absolutely.
in modern classic physique.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
So what is, I mean, do you train differently for it? Do you just not push as hard, or is it the supplementation different, the diet? Like, so what's different between that and say somebody that wants to hit monster status?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, it's going to be, the training intensity is always going to be there. I mean, whether you're a CrossFitter or a bodybuilder, the training intensity has to be there. It's the diet, you know, it's the amount of cardio, it's the overall look. You know, if you want to put the mass on, you're going to do more heavier compound movements. You're going to up the carb and protein intake. Of course, supplementation's there, but you know, it takes a lot longer time frame to put that tissue on. So, you know, it's more appealing to the mass of men that are like, man, I can attain that in a relatively good amount of time, rather than you know, I'm looking like you know, my buddy Hunter Lobrado. That guy's phenomenal. You know, these guys are coming in, and you know, again, like you said, not many people want to be that big. They appreciate it, and I definitely respect it, but it's just not suitable, you know, for the lifestyle.
I know during my competing days as super heavyweight, I would have to walk around at 280 pounds to compete at the weight that I needed to. So that was not a fun time. Like that's walking around 280 pounds sucks.
Yeah.
I can't. It's not for everybody. You can't sleep, you can't breathe, and you look swollen all the time. You're just it's neck and everything. And so not everybody wants to get to that point and wants to do that. And so being able to say, you know, I'd rather stay around 250 and then diet down to 220. And still, you know, that's a comfortable weight for me. Like that gives people that option, whereas open class just doesn't. You have to go massive to do that and really feel like you can compete at the.
And you see it in the numbers. I mean, as far as the pro show, local shows. I mean, it's bodybuilding number-wise has decreased since classic has come out. So a lot of these guys you see in my competition alone, I had 14 guys in my class where. As bodybuilding may have 5 to 10 most, and that's a large class. Back in the day, it was 20 plus every category. So
Yep, and you'd be comparing guys that looked so different. You know, guys like if you had two guys who were 5'10", you may have one of them at 185 pounds, and then another one at 250 pounds, and they're in the same class, and so it got to be a little bit, you know, convoluted. And those guys really didn't feel like they had a chance. But now splitting that sport in half and having
I medically speaking, I really like to hear, because this is the first time I'm hearing about classic. I mean, it really is. Yeah. And so I like that because you and I have talked, and there's a very, very fine balance, even in bodybuilding, from aesthetics and health.
Right.
I know a lot of guys that look great, and their health is crap. If I look at their biomarkers, I could put them side by side with somebody that's obese.
Yeah.
And they're pre-diabetic, and because they're eating massive amounts of food. And you know what I like about I'm hearing with classic is that you can be healthy, and I think that's what everybody's striving for. You see it in the Ben Pekulskis and people that have switched. Like Ben is like really now about longevity, doing it right and healthy and things like that. And there is ways to do it.
Right.
You bet.
It's a lot more cerebral approach, and also watching what you take, because like to me, you may look good, but if you're pre-diabetic and you're putting yourself at risk for heart disease, you ain't gonna live very long.
And the supplementation you mentioned earlier, I know we kind of skirted that.
Yeah.
But that's a big
Exactly.
difference as well.
Yeah.
You know, getting to those massive sizes
It
requires
takes supplementation.
a massive amount of supplementation
Yeah.
as well. And there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable with that. I would say the majority of people aren't comfortable with that.
And just financially to
Yeah.
consume that amount of food weekly, monthly, and what you're going to have to
You know-
spend to maintain that size and keep it, and again, go for that longevity. So realistically, budget friendly, and health wise, again, not to say any disrespect to
And you can buy clothes off the rack.
Yeah.
Which
Occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
Occasionally.
Well, if
Yeah.
it's stretchy like Lulu
Yeah.
or other things, or High Lead or something, yeah.
Yeah, the classic is probably my favorite sport now. Like,
Okay.
I only did open bodybuilding during my time. I didn't have a chance to do the other ones. But when I go to a show now, I want to watch the classic, and a lot of it's because of what he was saying with the presentation part of it, and that's a big part of it as well. In that they go for that classic posing style too. It's a very much a very dedicated art form that they're judged on, and how they present it and get that. Get those lines.
And now hearing it, I wish more people now would gravitate towards it, because I want you to look good. I do, but I think you should look good secondary to being healthy.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the same thing I tell my CrossFitters. The same thing I tell my OCR racers. Everything. It's like, yeah, you can. Who cares if you look good if your biomarkers are crap and you don't, and you're not going to live a long time.
Right.
So I do want you to look good, but be healthy too. And it seems like this is a little bit better fit for people that want to do that. Now, again, no disrespect for people that want to pursue bodybuilding, because it's a discipline. I mean, it's hard, but it's a give and take as far as
It's a balance, and again, it's some people want to get into it just to say they competed. Right? I mean, not many people want to either turn professional, and when they do turn professional, they don't do anything in the pro level.
That's
so
right.
it's like, what have you attained that for?
Yeah, all you did was give up your ability to do all the local shows that you would have had fun doing.
So I want to just up the level and see where you place amongst the pros.
So is that the way it works? If you earn your pro card, you no longer, unless they have a pro division, you can't do any of the local.
Yeah, so as of right now, there's no pro shows in Houston. Not scheduled. Even for 2021, there's not any. So his next show may be, well, who knows where, but it'll be an IFBB show instead of an NPC show. And there's not as many of them, and the competition level will be much
At the pro
higher.
level, it is. I'm going to be competing with different height classes, but they still have to meet their height, weight requirements. So again.
So what does it take to earn your pro card? Because I know a lot of people here, heard us say that you earned your pro card. So is there a certain place you have to place? Is there a certain, what are the requirements?
Normally,
for you to
get into it, you compete at a local show, you win your division, an open division, and then you're qualified for a national show. There's a few national shows in the U.S., and Classic themselves, it's the top two. They earn pro cards. I believe bodybuilding is overall. So even if you win your class, you still have to win an overall to earn your pro card. So it's a little bit more difficult in that aspect, but once you earn that pro card, it's no more amateurs. And I've heard a couple of guys decline their pro card just because they enjoy the local and national competition, and they just feel that they're not going to ever do well, and whatever their reasoning may be. But I've had some people, say I don't wish to accept it, which.
Gotcha.
Again, teach them.
The difference in competition is great, but the stress of having to compete against guys like Hunter, that's the real deal. I have guys that are like that next step down, and that step is the biggest step to go from competing against other amateurs to competing against professionals, because at that point there's no turning back. It's you got to get better, and you got to get better at all costs to get there. And I'm excited to see what you'll do.
I'm not the young buck. A lot of people start in their late teens, early 20s.
we're starting to rewrite that though. I'm a grandpa, and my goal is like to start rewriting what what we think about grandparents and where we're supposed to be at a certain age and things like that. So no, I mean I'm off.
I'd like to get in on that too. Let's pick back up with that after the
I wanna
commercial.
get to
But let's
the
head
beard.
off to the first commercial break and see some of our sponsors.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Isaac White. owner of the Isaac White Agency, a full-service property and casualty insurance agency located in Texas. Whether you need us to help you with your auto or your home insurance, your boat or your RV, we've got you covered. And our goal is to make sure you feel good about your insurance. Call us at 936-448-4000.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
My name is Dr. Willie Villareal. I'm a board-certified family nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and owner and founder at Core Sports Health here in Conroe. At Core, we take a root cause functional medicine approach to help you achieve your optimal health and vitality. If you're suffering from any of the following symptoms, we can help you through a comprehensive treatment plan that includes diet and nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and stress reduction. For an appointment, please call us at 936-441-2673 or visit us online at coresportshealth.com. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sadaf Javed. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist and I see adults also. I've been practicing in the greater Houston area for the past 5 years and my practice is in the west side of town. In these unprecedented times, it is so important to check in with your mental health. Please pick up the phone and call 832-304-7244 or mycognitivepsychiatry.com and we would be happy to help. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, and we're here with Brett Trevino, and we're talking about this new classic division in bodybuilding and kind of it being a better avenue for health and combining better fit for a lot of people because there's this huge paradigm shift in health and wellness to like longevity. I'll be doing, like we were talking earlier, I'll be doing a talk tonight for a group of docs at TRIS, and it's specifically on one of the techniques we use at the clinic, and we use something called the fasting mimicking diet that's developed by Dr. Walter Longo out of USC. And he's kind of the guy that everybody's talking about right now in the anti-aging world, in the longevity world, from everything from cancer to he's funded by the NIH, and they've got a bunch of clinical studies, pretty crazy stuff. But it's basically a fasting mimicking diet, but it's just a health approach. I want to get back to the beard because so if y'all have noticed, he's got this amazing beard, but I didn't know that there were beard competitions.
Yes.
And they're national competitions, and so Brett you compete in them, and
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the beard competitions and
how did you first? How
did you even hear about
How
that?
did the beard start?
Yeah. Okay, we'll take you back.
Yeah. How did the beard start?
So I've always been able, I guess, to grow facial hair, but I never had a full beard, had a goatee. And about 8 years ago, I just grew a little stubble, kind of like yourself. It looked good, it connects, and I thought, well, let me just see what happens. Started growing out a little bit, and my mom hated it. She just didn't like it. But the wife approved, and I said, well, if I ever do shave it, I want to enter a beard competition. I've heard about them, and there was a local one here in Houston to benefit the Shriners Kids Hospital. So I entered it, met a bunch of cool guys, and ended up winning. Best groomed beard.
I love that.
Now, and then Houston Chronicle put us on the front page, and in that community, they were like saying, "Come to Austin. You need to compete in Austin. It's a bigger scale." And I'm like, okay. And again, not comparing bodybuilding to beards, but I mean, it is. It's like, wow, this is all new to me.
They're both subcultures, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's different. And so I did some Austin shows and didn't do as well. And again, letting the beard grow and just having, I guess, shape and what you want in facial hair is really up to you and what fits your face and what you can put up with. Because
that's a big part of it.
That is, eating sandwiches, soups, ice cream cones, out of the question. It's like a wow. So you definitely get
the practicality of it is not.
Yeah, you get it, but what you save in razors, you might have to invest in product. Right?
That's true.
So
let's talk product. So how do you? So I've noticed it's very straight. It's very shiny. It looks healthy. So mine would not look like that. Mine would look like it was fried.
Yeah, well, I've tried to grow my wife won't let me cut it. I've already tried to shave. Yeah. She's like, I like it. But when I try to grow it out, but I know that there's a lot more, just like to bodybuilding or physique. Like there's a lot of supplementation and things. So is there any like topicals or anything you take as far as?
Not really. I mean, I just, the multivitamin supplements and, again, stay hydrated. But in the beginning, I was, a novice in the beard world. So a lot of these guys who had bigger beards were saying, hey, don't shampoo it every day. And that was what do you mean? Like, it's hair. I mean, it's dirty, right? No, it strips your natural oils from your face. You just want to deep condition it every week. Started doing that, and it's just started, more healthier, more sheen to it. There's so much product out there from different companies, and luckily a company sponsors me out of Buffalo, New York, called Buffalo Beard Company, and they, oils and shampoo and conditioner and all of that good stuff to kind of maintain the itch. And that's what you get. Does it itch? Does it get hot? Is it this? Not really. I mean, you get used to it. Here in Houston, it doesn't get very cold. So if it does, it's a little scarf for the neck. And then if it's hot, it's a little shade for the face, right? So, yeah, so I entered some beard competitions. And then every other year, there's a World Beard Championship that happens worldwide. And then back in 2017 was here in Austin, so I thought, I'm going to do it. It's close to home. This is right after Harvey, and I did. And there's 26 different categories. I mean, there's goatee, mustache, musketeer. I mean, length of beard, crazy beard. So I entered in the 0 to 6 inch category, and they actually measure from your lip down to your beard. It has to be 6 inches. And there was 58 competitors in there, and I took 5th. So I was pretty proud of that.
So what are they looking for when they judge? Like, what are some of the things they're looking for?
Fullness. You can't have any product. You can't have any like hairspray or any kind of gel or anything. It's just the natural look. How it's shaped, just the fullness, the texture. And you have a panel of probably like 6 to 8 different judges from the community, male and female, that are there admiring your behavior.
Now, am I right in hearing that there were female competitors,
there
one
at
least?
There was one. Yeah, there was
Which
one.
is awesome.
Yeah, I applaud her. She's Rose is her name, and she did very well, and she's very, very well respected. In the
I would imagine
community.
so. If that's something that you, as a woman, are, I don't want to say stuck with, but it's obviously not the norm, right?
Right.
Steer into it.
Yeah.
Take it for all it's worth. Own it. Right.
Make it happen.
That's awesome.
And I just loved her confidence. So.
So when is the next one? Is there one on the horizon?
I mean, with everything going on, there's just hasn't been, because we get together and just like any kind of gathering, but nothing is for this year. Maybe next year.
So are you part of like a local beard community like here in Houston?
Right.
Like that y'all do stuff?
I'm actually there's actually called the Bearded Villains of Houston, and where I do a lot of charity work. A lot of guys from all different backgrounds. So I'm the charity officer for that. So we give back to kids and vets and pets. Do a lot of community work, and you see another guy with a beard, like, hey, they started asking, like, what do you do for a living that allows you to have a beard like that? And then you start talking, and it's like, a couple of women. It's like, well, what do you use? How do you take care of it? What kind of product do you use? And one thing leads to another, and you become friends, and then like I said, you just go from there. So.
Yeah, I love the fact there's a philanthropic angle to it as well, because it's definitely something that sets organizations apart, right? What they give back.
And that was a big thing, being in both bearded and bodybuilding community. People were saying, well, you can't compete with a beard like that. I mean, it's going to hide your physique. Well, of course, competition photos, I have my beard, sort of glued around my face, I mean, you can see it so it doesn't take away from the chest and anything. But you don't see a lot of competitors in bodybuilding have any sort of facial hair.
Right.
They think it takes away from their physique. But to me, look, that guy's got a beard. Let me look at his physique. It's a win-win for me. So
it actually, I think it helps you kind of stand out.
Stand out. It's
it
memorable.
It gets
That's why you
judges
remembered it.
looking back at you. Exactly right. And I like something, as long as it doesn't look bad, as long as it grabs the judge's attention and keeps their focus on you, I think that's a good thing.
We're talking about America's Got Talent, and I watch that every week, and one of the things that I always hear him say is that, I hear this competitor, that competitor, I hear this singer, that singer, and in a month I'll forget about them. So it's like, when somebody stands out, they're like, I'll remember you. and it's certain little things, and it's something that makes you stand out or memorable.
But it didn't happen quick for you though either. So you've been getting on stage for 13 years, something like that.
13 years.
Yeah.
My first show was 2007, and It was here in Houston, Texas, Texas State Championship.
You know, when I start working with young athletes that are wanting to do physique competitions, they always have that mindset of I want to be the best at it, which is kind of what I demand from athletes. If you're going to work with me, it's because you want to win. It's not just because you want to check a box, right?
Yeah, right.
But they all have that same mindset of I want to do it as fast as possible. And that's not always going to be the case. There's going to be a lot of stops along the way, a lot of local shows where there's going to be people that are better, and it's going to happen. And,
They're in a different. They're just in a different.
It takes time
part
to
of their
build
journey.
mature, strong look that will actually look good on stage and be able to present in a very good way. And I like the fact that you stuck with it and took that time to get there,
Well,
get to the
appreciate
ultimate goal.
that.
Well, what else are you going to do? I mean, are you going to not be healthy? Or
Well, a lot
are
of
you
guys
not-
quit.
Well, you get
And
a lot,
like-
They
because,
quit.
we've talked offline that a lot of guys and gals, they do a competition because they're influenced. Someone sees potential, right? You take them to the next level, and they are just surprised at how their body molds and transforms into something they've never seen before. So they get motivated. And I tell people, I've coached athletes before. Just because you're the best shape in your life that day doesn't mean there's not somebody else in the best shape in that day.
That's right.
So you can't go into it and you're thinking, oh well, that's just 3 months of hard work down the drain.
Not at
You
all.
got to keep going. You've never done this before. You're dabbling into it, and it's the mindset. Trust me. I mean, there's been a lot of close calls. I've been second. I've been third. I've been top 5. I've placed out of it. And you start to doubt. Do I really belong? Do I have what it takes? Because you have to set aside that balance of life, whether you're working, your relationships, your family, your friends. I mean, any competitor will tell you that. And it's not a sport where you can just play a game and the next week play another one. I mean, this is a 24/7, 365 disciplinary.
And then it's a
mindset.
war of attrition on top of that. If you're putting in the effort and you're doing the work like everyone else is doing, injuries are going to happen to people. Life is going to happen to people. I've known great bodybuilders that just had to walk away from the sport because their job demanded it or because an injury happened along the way. And so being able to stay healthy and stay productive and keep going towards it gives you a very big advantage over the people that are, come along behind you that don't have the experience. And, there's something to being in it for a long time and really, not to mention the relationships you make along the way, the people you affect along the way, as a coach,
That's
as an
huge.
athlete.
Yeah, I mean, even in these national shows, the camaraderie, which was big back in the golden era. I mean, everyone helped and encouraged one another. Over the years, I've seen a lot of guys just be there and supportive, and then yes, you want to win. You have a competitive nature, but support each other, and that's what was very overwhelming for me to receive. Such overwhelming response of positive comments from people that maybe I haven't spoken to, haven't been there since day one. It was like, man, you stuck with it, great job. And again, when I see those words, you earned it, man, I mean, that's what I didn't want to be given anything. I mean, I want to be in competition. I want to take it because I earned it. I was the best that day, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's just definitely a blessing and honor to be in the separate league.
So how old are you now?
I'm 40.
40? Oh, yeah, so we're the same age. Yeah. So as a couple of 40-year-olds and a 40-something grandfather, we started talking about aging a little bit. And that was kind of one of the things that we kind of wanted to touch on while we're here today, too, is some of the, the fasting things that you're working on and how we can turn the odometer back. So I like to tell people all the time, I'm only 40, but I have a lot more mileage than that.
Absolutely. And there's so many techniques. There's so many supplements. There's so many approaches now that aren't just woo-woo. They're science-based or clinical-based, and there's a lot of approaches. We are coming up to our second break, so the perfect segue.
Okay,
When we get back, we'll start on
start talking about
anti-aging,
monkeys
longevity, and monkeys and all that. So we'll take a couple of minutes for our word from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, this is Chef Laurent. I'm the owner of Taste of Paris, a catering company for seniors. If you want to know more about those services, give us a call at 832-415-7374 or visit our webpage at laurentvalsculinary.com. Thank you.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Hi, I'm Bruce Tuff of the Tuff Law Firm. We are located in the greater Woodlands area. If you need any smart, tough lawyers, call us 281-681-0808. We do personal injury, real estate, construction law, business law, probate, all the legal services you may need. We have over 100 years of experience in our office. Call the Tough Smart Lawyers, 281-681-0808, Tuff Law Firm.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to start talking a little bit about, just like, Jason was talking about, we're all over 40. And 40 is a time where I start to see patients in the office kind of, hey, well, as soon as I turn 40, all of a sudden a light switch went on, or that's when I started feeling bad, or and it's really not that. It's usually what we see is it's an accumulation, or a lot of times we call it like the rain barrel effect. It's kind of like, it's something that kept building. Like if you think of your body like a rain barrel, it's just a little bit at a time. Then all of a sudden,
it's full.
A stressful event, an illness, or something. It makes it overflow, and then all of a sudden everything manifests. And then all of a sudden, I got high blood pressure. All of a sudden, and it's not all of a sudden. It's all of a sudden it manifested. So there are a lot of approaches, a lot of techniques, a lot of things that we see, and I do a lot of not just hormone therapy, but it's one of the techniques. But one of the things we see is, after 40 we start to see testosterone drop. So we really stress on hormones, and one of the things we do know is that if we can account for proper hormonal balance and proper hormone levels, we can not so much anti-aging, but we can push off the onset of disease, right? And so 40 is kind of what we're starting to see, and that's also supplementation wise. After 40, like, we don't digest food the way we did when we were 20. We don't get enough the same protein. We don't get, so our machinery is getting older.
There's not necessarily a fountain of youth, correct?
No.
But there's a lot of things that work together to kind of give you that effect.
Yeah.
Through your food and supplementation.
And it's not one thing; it's a lot of things.
So if we were coming into you today as a client or a patient and say, look, this is my goal now. Like, my goal now is to live as long and productive life as possible. Where do we start as a
the patient? Basics? So the basics. I started having this thing with patients, and it's like everybody comes in and they're like, what supplement should I take, and what this and what that, and I have a no biohacking until the basics rule. So in other words, they want to say, hey, what do you think about NAD, and what do you think about all these things, right? It doesn't matter. I said, what if your diet's garbage and you sleep terrible and you don't go out in the sun and so if you're not drinking water regularly, like just the basics. So start with the base. So it takes we do a comprehensive kind of initial visit to evaluate that.
Right.
What is your diet? Diet's the most potent drug you can put in your body. Period. Exercise and activity, and that doesn't mean that I necessarily want you going to the gym every day. It just means do something, do stuff at home.
Move your butt.
This has been the perfect example. Yeah. Well, and that was a key, is circulation. So it moves blood to our extremities, moves hormones, it moves blood to the brain, and it does all that. And then, blood work, because blood is, you can't cheat blood. I mean, it's the ultimate, I have a close friend that I just saw his labs, and, he's eating well or eating clean, but he's pre-diabetic. So I have to have that conversation with him. But and you know, they eat better than most. He eats better than most people. They're real, you know, cognizant of what they eat, but he may just be eating a little bit too much more of this, but that's where blood work comes in.
You bet.
So hormones, one of the things I've really try to really stress, and I'm very passionate about now, is brain health. Okay, I don't care if we get to 80, 90, 100, 110, if your brain doesn't work. If your body's fine, if your brain doesn't work, that's your CPU, and it's one thing that we're not really even talking about. So there's a lot of little, I'm going next weekend to that brain optimization therapy with Ben Greenfield and things at Kentucky, so that's going to be cool. So I'm trying to stay ahead of all these things as far as, now, is there anything you've changed, like now being 40, is there anything specifically that you do to try to, not, I hate to always say term or anti-age or turn back the clock, but just to slow down
the process.
Yeah, to postpone it a lot. You know, I think the biggest thing is being aware, you know, and really acknowledging and taking in that, you know, you are aging. You know, back in your early 20s, you look at guys like us and, man, 40 is so old. I'm never going to be that old. Then you get there quicker than you think, and you're like,
you don't feel any different.
Right. I mean, I don't feel 40.
I don't feel 40.
You know, but you know, like you said in the beginning, Jason, when you said, if we come in, you have these people that want to know, how do I elongate my life, right? How do I postpone it? And you said it, the basics. But people don't understand the basics. When they say, okay, well, I drink water. Well, how much do you drink?
Do you drink electrolytes with your water?
I eat right. Well, you know,
that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
When you have a salad that's full of ranch and croutons and cheese and bacon,
is it still a salad?
And an egg. Well, it's my protein. You know, and I preach so much, like you said. I mean, everyone has worked with somebody that's, you know, and this is family members and stuff, and they come to you. I mean, you're just a profession. You're professionals, and you tell them the same story over and over. So, you know, that's where I keen on it. Like you said, brain is the mindset. What do you want to achieve? And let's break that down into a short-term goal, like you said. I mean, 40, okay, the rest of the year, do I want to, you know, run a 5K? Do I want to feel better? Do I want to lose body fat? Do I want to play with my kids? What's going to drive me to keep me accountable to being on that basic road to give me, you know, ultimately more life?
A lot of the people coming in to see me are already, they feel terrible. They're seeing me because they have fatigue. They all have a lot of the same things. They have fatigue. They can't sleep. Low libido. Male and female. This is both men and women. Just brain fog.
They're just overrun with stress.
Overrun with stress. And just like we were talking about, like we talked about on the break, cortisol, like, you know, cortisol does have everybody wants to know their cortisol level because they read on the internet that that's causing this and that. And it can. In the most basic sense, it basically steals away from our basic backbone of making, if it's really, you only have a certain amount of glycerol backbone to make certain hormones, right? Cortisol is a steroid. Testosterone is a steroid. Cholesterol is a steroid. All those. Well, if you sequester too much away for cortisol, you know, because you're stressed out and you don't sleep well, sleep will increase cortisol. You don't leave enough for your body to even make an adequate amount of testosterone. So that's one of the ways. But, you know, we do 4 major things: it's diet, nutrition, exercise and activity, hormonal balance, and then stress reduction, stress mitigation, things like that, because those are going to be the keys to getting everybody back. But if you look at the 4 major diseases of aging, okay, they're heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer. Okay, those are, the whole goal isn't to, like, you know, it's to, if we know onset starts about 50, 60, like, let's push them off to like 80, 90. So it's not totally do them away with it. It's let's slow things down. And a lot of the ways we do that is with, you know, we do for a lot of, they come in and they say, my doctor said that I didn't need a multivitamin. Okay, maybe 50 years ago, 100, oh yeah, I can get everything I get from my diet. But then when you look at your diet, they go, I eat really clean. I said, okay, well, let's talk about what that means. Take me through a typical day of eating. And they're like, well, I have a waffle with peanut butter and popcorn, orange juice.
Popcorn and a tab for lunch.
Or they don't even eat breakfast. You know, I'll just have 2 cups of coffee and then they, you know, eat whatever it is.
Black coffee and a cigarette.
And it makes them go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different approaches, and one of the ones that we know, and we talked about it a little bit on the break, is fasting.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot. Fasting is actually the #1 Googled eating approach for all of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting. I don't like the term intermittent fasting because it doesn't mean anything. You know, it's a media term. You know, it's basically, it can mean anything from 2 days to 20 days, and that doesn't. I talk about people eating in a window, or a time restricted eating window, and that's 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. People say, "What do you mean you want me to fast?" I'm like, 12 hours. You can do that, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's not hard for people to do, but nobody does that. The average American eats 15.2 hours a day. And so, you know, they'll go to dinner at 6 o'clock, and then they get home and they just kind of open the fridge. And
the last thing they do before bed is eat something.
Yeah.
First thing they do when they wake up, eat something.
And we do know from animal studies, from human studies, from human clinical studies, that one of the things we can do is we can temper like periods of fasting and not fasting. Okay, it really does a lot of great things for the body.
So in periodization, we've seen with both the studies, and we've adapted that to some of our clients. It's you know, taking a 40% reduction over 4 days makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
and a lot of markers for people, including body composition,
body fat, and we track that with like DEXA. But again, I got to really clarify, because for people to think fasting is just no food, and nobody's advocating a water fast. They've actually done studies on that, and while it worked for cancer, there's certain things that it works for, things that it doesn't work for. I don't advocate that for most people. It's mostly it's really periods of mimicking what we did historically.
Right.
We had periods throughout our history that we would eat, and then we had periods where we had starvation because there was no food, and we didn't make a kill, and we didn't have crops, and that historically is what we did. We had a flux of scarcity and abundance, and now we're in this constant overfed state. And we've turned off, what it's done is we've turned off this innate system in our body that allows us to regenerate. And so we have the ability in our body when we take certain things. So like one of the things I recommend at our clinic is we have something called the fasting mimicking diet, and most people can do that because when you hear fast, it's like no food. They think it's no food and no this. Well, this is a clinical fast that you can do outside the clinic, and I can give it to a patient, and they're still eating food. Right. But the body thinks it's fasting, so they get all the benefits for those 5 days. So twice a year, once a quarter, something like that, depending on what they have. We do different things, but it really has been shown to their CRP goes down, their C-reactive protein, which is a really high inflammation marker. Their cholesterol goes down, their blood sugar goes down. And these are people with problems, with medical problems. And again, it's food. It's literally food related. So that's one technique. There's a lot of supplements. I mean, we could have a whole show, and we probably should. We should have a whole show on like brain health, and we should probably maybe plan it for after that conference. Because there's a lot of things that are in the now that I'll kind of just throw out there to mention, and it's things like NAD. Like I do NAD drips at the clinic, and it really rejuvenates the mind. But things like there's a supplement called PQQ. It's really good. PQQ with CoQ10 is really good for the brain.
We talked about mushrooms.
We talked about mushrooms like reishi, lion's mane, chaga for immunity, but lion's mane is really good for the brain. There's things like a new one that's got a lot of research. It's methylene blue. Methylene blue has been around since 1800s. And now they've really looked at it for there's this Dr. Ted Achuska that has this company called Troscriptions, and he has these little troches that you can put in between your gum and cheek, and they will actually light your brain up. I mean, it's methylene blue, but it has a little bit of nicotine, a little bit of caffeine, and it'll light your brain up. But it's all clinically studied. Now, one thing I'll tell you, I'll be careful about is I did it the other day, and it left my entire mouth and my lips and everything blue for about 3 or 4 days.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
So
All right,
but
so
it works.
So we need to find a different way to get it into our system.
You get it into our system.
Other than,
so there's a lot of things. All that to say, there's a lot of things.
So we're both the suppository route.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gonna make you blue poop, but it will make you your urine turn blue.
Wow.
Also.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
So there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of approaches. But again, one of the easiest ones is just that fasting mimicking diet, and couple of times a year. Nobody's talking about it. You know, the benefits they saw in those studies were from doing 5 days, and then they actually let the people in the clinical study go back to their own diet. But what it did is it changed their diet. Like it changed
their gut health.
It changed their gut health.
And so then once they started back to their regular diet, they maybe could absorb more of it
Yep.
than they were before.
Yeah.
See how that works.
Yeah. So is there anything that you've kind of, I know, you know, we asked that, but is there anything specifically that you have latched onto that you've really kind of, you know, as far as N equal to 1 yourself, as far as trying a certain supplement other than just a multi or anything like that?
You know, I mean, I think it goes just, you know, when you mention all these things, I think to the normal person that has no understanding, it's a little scary, right? I mean, you're putting out all these different supplementations where the mindset thinks, well, I could go back to the basics, but my basics is not even close to what the norm should be. So you start from there and you start building up and you start to feel a little bit better, but then you're not at optimal performance, right? So you want to get to that as an athlete, competitor. You want to just overachieve. So again, being aware, just make sure, you know, water intake is huge for me. You know, with the pH, the alkaline. People were like, why do you pay a little bit more for good water? Well,
That's right.
I am a water guru.
Yes.
I love water.
Yeah, you need to watch
I know,
what is
we
it?
talk about it all
Zach
the time.
Efron, the Down to
watch
Earth, Down to Earth.
And how much
The mineral level in
The
the
mineral
water
level.
And
makes
so
a
when
big
people
difference.
think it's pure, you're stripping all of that down. And I'm getting off.
My
subject.
favorite part of that,
No,
before
it's-
we get away from it,
Yeah.
was the fact that when you drink water that has its minerals stripped out of it, and I've never thought of it, but you're just drinking water that's been absolutely filtered down to nothing. You drink that, it goes through your body looking for minerals. To pull to
yeah,
it. So not only are
minerals to
you're
pull to.
doing yourself a disservice
Yeah.
by drinking that kind of water, because then you're losing those minerals that you're, you know.
And it's fine.
I never knew
can
that.
you do it? Yes, but then you have to add things back to
right.
it. So you had to add. Here's the problem with adding electrolytes. Like the first thing when I talk to a patient, they're like, "Hey, what's your water intake like?" And there's like, "Oh, I drink a lot of water." It's like, "Yeah, but you're like a sieve. You know, you don't." I said, you know, the easiest way I explain is I said, "Okay, you sweat, right? Lick your arm. What does it taste like?" It's like, "Well, it's salty." I said, "Yeah, but so you're not leaching, leaching out water. You're just leaching out magnesium, calcium, zinc is a salt, like all these potassium salts, and so they don't replenish that. So everything in the entire body is a sodium potassium pump, and if you're depleting that and you're not replenishing that." So one of the things we use is the problem is that they say, "Oh, you mean Gatorade and Power?" No, no Pedialyte, no. So we recommend. There's any number of there's any number of them, but we mainly use something called Replay, or Pre-Play from Hydration Health, and we also I really latched on to Rob Wolf's new supplement. It's called Element or LMNT, and you can get it at like drinklmnt.com. It's really, and it was for that reason. He was not hydrating properly. So again, that's a basic, and that's a basic that most people fail on is like hydration and it's water, because they're like, I drink lots of water.
Well, you know, their strength levels in the gym, their productivity, their fatigue. I tell people, I mean, how much water are you drinking? Like you said, people are like, well, you know, the typical 8-ounce glasses or 8 of them a day, it just doesn't go for each individual. You have to partake in your activity level, what you're doing, your goals. So I've been really honed in on the water intake, making sure it's daily, because I can tell if myself if my brain's a little foggy or if I'm not, strong enough in the gym. You know, it's probably due to lack of water. And people are just, you know, again, fascinated. But then they'll drink, you know, the coffee, and I'm like, well, you know, that's a diuretic, you know. So you're just kind of playing the cycle.
Yeah, a lot of times I tell people it's not exactly about how much water you drink. It's about how much can you retain. Yeah, how much can you retain? Because that's what you need for recovery, and that's what you need for the muscles and tendons and everything else to actually get through that recovery process. And so if you're just drinking it and peeing it right out,
you're a sieve. You're a sieve.
Exactly right.
Well, we have one more break that we got to get to, and we'll finish up the show in about 2 minutes.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Turn on your glam today. The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein Lip Gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. jennaklein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it. If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Welcome back, everybody. Man, I wish we could record our conversations on the break because it was like great content. You know, so you know, Brett was talking about it's like it's great to meet like-minded people. I thought I was the only one, and this, you know, so kind of replay what you were talking about. It's like,
you know, being amongst you gentlemen, it just makes me more proud to talk about things that we all agree on. You know, as the different professions, different clients, different people we speak to on a daily basis. You know, I keep thinking, am I the only crazy one that's giving you this advice? I mean, are you listening to me? You know, are you Googling it? Or this so-and-so, my doctor says this. But hearing y'all and just feeling like we could just talk for hours.
My doctor said my diet doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's I've
we heard that this week.
We
heard that this week.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. So my doctor says, you know what's worse is I had a patient come in and he told her oncologist told him, he said that my diet doesn't matter. I'm like, there's literally something called the Warburg effect.
Yeah.
That's, you know, from 1929 that he won the Nobel Peace Prize for, you know, about sugar and cancer. You know, so we hear it all the time. Now there are some of us out there like that do functional medicine, believe in root cause medicine. There is a big shift that's happening. We talk about this. I was lucky that I came the other way. I came from sports and fitness and wellness, and I was a trainer and other things and collegiate athlete, and then came that way, that route through medicine. And so, and now can use them both. But like Jason had a great, like that's probably a great analogy, one of the best analogy that I've heard. You know, talk about the car.
Yeah, and what I tell people is if you're the car you're in today, you know, you think about the car sitting out in your garage or in the parking lot. If I told you that was the only car you were going to get to drive the rest of your life, that was it. You got to take care of it. That's your car. Would you do anything different when it comes to the maintenance of that car? You know, I know I would. I'd take care of it a little bit better if I knew the fuel going into it was going to fuel it for the rest of my life. I would be definitely taking more care.
People don't
and
do that
when
with
you
their
consider
body.
that with your body, that's the way you should approach it. It's the only one you're going to have. So you need to be more cognizant about what you're putting into it, because that's what's going to fuel it.
But the car has, like, you know, those warning lights, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
light,
yeah.
But I can get, you know, 100 more miles.
Yeah, 100
out of it.
yeah.
I can push
Yeah.
a little bit more.
So what are our warning lights? Our warning lights are not being able to sleep,
Fatigue, sleep,
depression,
all kinds anxiety. I had a guy today with, you know, just he's great. His hormone levels were great and everything, but he had anxiety. And so it's one of these. Okay, well, is there neurotransmitter? Like, does he need a little bit of GABA, a little bit of L-theanine? You know, so that's the thing is. So my goal is not to go, hey, here's some Xanax. That's maybe last step. If you've tried everything else in short term, but try other things. Like there's some great L-theanine and you know, things that are clinically shown to work. So they are out there. It's just, you know, no, you're not alone. So
it's exactly right. And you said stress. You know, the stress thing is huge these days, especially this year with everything going on. I mean, people are like, how do I decrease my stress levels? I mean, physically, we talk about exercise, moving around, getting some circulation, taking time, 5-10 minutes.
Meditation. There's apps.
Absolutely.
There's literally apps.
But, you know, there's everything you need right at your fingertips. But again, it's people just, how do I do it? How do I implement it in my daily routine? And I can't tell you that because I don't know your daily routine.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I tell people, focus outwardly. You know, don't just think about the situation you're in. Do something for somebody else that's completely selfless.
Absolutely.
You want to feel better? Do that.
Do that, yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything big, but do something for somebody else that you get no benefit from other than you help that person. Go out and approach your day that way. Do something like that and see if you don't start to feel better real quick.
Yeah. Now, do you train people, like you mentioned you had a gym on Tomball. So
yeah, I have
what is that?
Gym, private gym in Tomball. I've been there for about 7 years. I used to run the Lifetime Fitness personal training in Katy and Sugar Land. But, I just, over this year, I mean, people need, getting a little bit more accountability. So anywhere from kids to 9, I got a couple that's 75 that we go to church with. So really it's just commitment to wanting to change, Everybody that I run across, I say, look, you're going to commit to me. I'm not going to tell you have to do this. What's your commitment level weekly, and for how long? So frequency and duration. And then we put the plan together from that. And I just break it into little checkpoints and say, let's give me 4 to 6 weeks, see how you feel. Because I'm trying to, sell the sizzle, not the steak. I'm like, look, where you're gonna be, but let's break that down into reachable goals.
That's right.
How do people get a hold of you?
Website absolutephysique.com. Instagram absolute_beard. So either one of those, Facebook, any social media platform is definitely there.
Good.
Awesome.
We really appreciate having you today, and we're going to definitely have you back.
We will definitely have you back. This is an introduction, and then we'll have you back for a specific topic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
But one that's not beard related.
Because I'm gonna have to grow one back.
But I'm sure once we get into like November, which is a big time for guys going into men's health, and that might be something that we really get behind.
And then flowing into January, where everybody wants to be healthy. For about a month or two.
Yeah, this was the year that I don't think anyone kept their New Year's resolutions. I mean, it's usually probably pretty bad. I would imagine this year is probably worse than most.
Yeah. Everybody got the COVID-19,
I think,
19 pounds.
People are just saying, it's not quite over yet, so I still have time. I mean, why
wait?
Improve now.
Yeah.
Let me just wait till it's completely gone.
Well, for those of you who are not in the Houston area and don't have gyms open, keep your head up. Keep doing whatever you can. Just get outside.
Move.
Use
get outside.
what you got. Yeah, just get some sunlight.
Hey, and the food. There's no lack of healthy food every time. So the healthy food is what's still left at the
plenty of vegetables,
at the stores.
Plenty of fruits.
So don't use that excuse. But thanks for everybody for joining us this week, and we'll catch y'all next week, next Thursday at 12 on Superhuman.
Thanks.